I'm delighted to be here in London with the Marillion Steves, Steve Hogarth and Steve Rothery. How are you guys?
Hi, good to be here.
Morning.
We, at a time in your career, your illustrious career, celebrating many anniversaries.
Yes, 40 years in the band for me, 30 for Steve. And, yeah, job for life.
Job for life.
No one would have believed.
Hotel California.
And one of the reasons, well, I mean, the many reasons why we're here, is that you're announcing another tour, kicking off in November. I think you have 13 dates, something like that, starting in Liverpool and going all the way through the Royal Albert Hall.
Yeah.
And we could also talk about a new musical endeavour, a new musical release as well. So let's maybe start going back 1 year or so, when you performed a fantastic, seminal, sold-out Royal Albert Hall show that was recorded for posterity.
It was actually nearly 2 years ago, believe it or not. It feels like a year, doesn't it? It was November 17. We'd never played the Albert Hall before. We were filming it, so the pressure was on. There was just the one night to grab as well. Normally when you film a live concert, you do it over 2 nights. So you've got, you can get rid of the warts. That wasn't an option. So we were thrilled, but feeling pretty nervous to be there. We had a string quartet with us, French horn player, flautist, and we were experimenting really for the first time. Exploring the potential of working with those classical elements. And our brilliant producer, Michael Hunter, did all the arrangements for them. And he understands our music extremely well because he's produced us. So he managed to find a way of creating arrangements which would work within the music rather than overpower it or be wrong for it. So in the end, the evening was a great success. It was sold out. Our fans were amazing on the night, and we were spoiled rotten.
Probably the greatest live performance we've ever filmed. If we never make another concert film, I think we can all be happy going to our graves as that being representative of the band at its best, because everything came together: the lights, the sound, our performance, the quartet, the wind players. It was just a magical night.
And the confetti cannon as well. I never thought that I'd see Marillion with confetti cannon, but it was a beautiful moment.
You can't put a price on a confetti cannon.
Well, you can. It's about £5,000. But
yes,
anyway.
Unfortunately, Lucy does it.
But yeah, it was a great show. I think the thing it also points out is the strength of your most recent studio album, F.E.A.R.
Exactly,
because that was really at the core of the performance. You permeated it all the way through with the levers, I think, split into 2 parts.
Yeah, we returned. We sort of reprised the levers at the very, very end for the confetti cannon moment, to be honest, because the end of the levers is about us and the crowd coming together as one in a moment, after which we all run off usually to another city or another country, and everyone else goes home, which is what the song's about.
So, with that being captured for all time with the DVD release that came out earlier, you have a new tour coming out, so new challenge in terms of what type of set you're going to perform. You've obviously spent 2 years supporting that most recent album.
Yeah, we thought it might be nice, having done what we did at RAH on that tour with the sextet, to make a proper record with them and go into the studio and revisit some of our catalogue. So we've made an 80-minute album called Marillion with Friends from the Orchestra. Is that right?
I think so.
Which we struggled to remember the title of earlier.
Not Rachel from Friends, but Friends from the Orchestra.
Yes.
it sounds amazing. It sounds really, really lovely. Very pleased with it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go back out on the road, not just here but in Europe as well, with the 6 orchestral players, and we're going to play probably most, if not all, of the album, plus a lot of other songs from our catalogue, which will include the quartet, the flute, and the horn. What we did before, I think we split the show into 2 halves, didn't we? We had a first half which was just us, and then we had a half with the orchestral elements. This time the entire show is going to contain them, so it's going to be a fusion of those things, and it gives us a chance to broaden out the catalogue and the number of songs we're playing.
And that new release has about 8 or 9 tracks from across your catalogue. It's not the most obvious selection of tracks. I think it represents something like tracks from 7 of your 14 albums that you have recorded since your arrival in '84.
Yeah, I think Seasons Ends on there. It was the first one.
Yeah, just finding the tracks that would most benefit, I suppose, that aren't tracks that we played the last time when we went out with them. So I think it's a really interesting cross-section of music, including Estonia and Ocean Cloud, the nautical bookends.
From Marbles, right?
Yeah.
A collection, which was a B-side originally, and I think it's a much nicer. Some of these songs are, I think, they're better than the originals. I think a collection is. I think Estonia might be, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so. Sky Above the Rain, quite possibly.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah, that was the one that most impressed me when I saw it on the track listing. I thought that's great. So I was going to ask, in terms of putting that track list together, having the orchestra arrangements, if during that process brought out new things in the songs that you didn't think were there, lyrical themes, for example.
Yeah, I mean, what I don't know if anybody's spotted it yet, but we re-recorded This Strange Engine, and I've actually did you?
Yeah.
Did you know I'd slid an extra line in?
Yeah.
And nobody was looking. I slid an extra line of lyrics in. But nobody's mentioned it, and I didn't know whether that was because they were being nice or because they just hadn't noticed.
You can really never tell with this band. I think he's singing something different.
Yeah, what's he done there? So I threw an extra line in, which I'd always wanted to have in the song and never made it in the first place. And also, it gave us a chance at the end of Sky Above the Rain, for instance, instead of going bam, it goes the other way and goes very, very quiet and very sparse. So it was a chance to rework the approach of certain sections of the songs.
The whole dynamics and ebb and flow of the music can be changed. Yeah.
It was a path we had to tread really between really exploiting the classical elements and showing them and exposing them, but not letting them turn the songs into something else.
Yeah, not dominate the songs. Something that's. I think that's what Mike's genius really with his arrangements is. Everything is so sympathetic to the mood and the emotion of the music that was already there, but it just added to it. And
the songs on that new release, I mean, it spanned a long period from '89 all the way to 2012. So to render that in a cohesive set, I think we're really looking forward to hearing what those will sound like and live.
Yes, us too.
I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to this tour.
Yeah, we have a few days rehearsals up in Liverpool before the first show. Really looking forward to it.
And as a collective, this lineup has been together for 30 years, 14 albums of the 18 in total. If you sort of like start with Seasons Ends all the way through to F.E.A.R, how do you feel, first of all, Steve, from a lyrical point of view, your approach has changed over time? Because I noticed in more recent times, the F.E.A.R album has got a lot of more social commentary.
Yeah, well, I think I've just got older, you know. There's only so many love songs you can write. And, you know, you get to an age where naturally the things that concern you are perhaps not the things that concern you when you were 25. And I think I had a bit of an epiphany moment a few years back. It was the Make Poverty History thing. I got a little bit involved in that campaign, and I did have a moment where I thought, look, you've said a lot of stuff already. Isn't it time you were, pinning your collars to the mast a bit and trying to make the world a better place if you can, without preaching or I don't want to turn into Bono and feel like I'm telling people what they should or shouldn't be doing or believing in. But at the same time, you do get to an age where you think, well, maybe I won't make a lot more records. I should say something important, and I should say something beautiful. Maybe get my head out of my own garage and out into the world a bit more. I've had my head up there. I've written lots of songs about unrequited love, all of that. It'd be nice to say something important, and so then you find then I started to find myself writing about poverty in Voice from the Past, and injustice in Gaza, and then F.E.A.R was really just a protest record about England. It was me really venting about a loss of faith in England and its institutions and its media and everything. On the banks and the business and the way big money pollutes everything, compromises everything.
But the
You've got to
themes,
say it. You get to an age where you've got to say it.
but the themes are universal, because I remember you talking about how when you were over in the US, having played a show on the night of that famous or infamous election night.
Yeah, what a night. Yeah, it was to be playing that music on that night.
So the themes have a resonance, I guess, whatever country you go to.
That's true, and I wasn't really ready for that. I didn't see that coming because I just had my head in England and what I felt about England, what I felt was wrong with England. And then, quite surprisingly, when we toured it, we went to Spain, and suddenly I'm singing these songs, thinking, this sounds like I'm talking about Spain. Although I wasn't. When we go to America, I feel like I should apologise because this sounds like I'm having a go at America. So those words, I guess, because I'm railing against big money, and the fact that people who preside over failing companies tend to be rewarded and sail off on yachts, as the ordinary people go down in flames. You can go anywhere in the world and everybody goes, yeah, too right.
So Steve, from a musical point of view, you're known for your highly melodic and emotive guitar style. How much do the lyrics influence the way that you play? And over time,
he's got no idea what I'm about.
I think it really does depend, because a lot of the music comes through improvisation from jamming. So it's the emotion that the music is inspiring in that split second. Because a lot of my solos are improvised. Sometimes, you're listening to the track and you try and do something that really encapsulates the emotion of the song, of the words. One of the things I try and do is I try and create maybe melodic lines that weave around the vocal melody and support it, supports the intensity of the emotion in the words, things like the end of the Great Escape. It's a strange way that our music evolves sometimes.
It often works the other way around, because we write by jamming, and so the band will be jamming in the room, and I'll be on the mic with as many lyrics as I can get in front of me, and I'll be listening to what the band's doing. So quite often it'll be the music that takes me to the words.
yeah.
So we kind of bat it back and forth, and then once we arrive at the point where we're arranging a song and I've got a lyric, then I dare say from that point onwards, then the band may resonate with the words. but more often than not, the choice of the lyric has come from the music in the first place.
And both of you have had, over your time with the band, your side projects, your solo projects. Are you both at a point right now that your internal imaginings and inclinations is sated through Marillion, or do you still have music that doesn't fit that you still want to do through another outlet?
I think it depends. I mean, most of our creative energy is poured into Marillion, but I mean, sometimes you want to do other things. It's just fun to play with other musicians. I mean, I'm kind of in the middle of doing this space-themed instrumental album at the moment, which will come out at some point next year. And it's just really me and a keyboard player, and it's kind of more cinematic, atmospheric kind of stuff. But yeah, it's not anything that would really be used in Marillion, so it just gives you the opportunity to explore different things. Really.
Yes, I remember seeing the show you did around the Ghost of Pripyat. And you're right, it was very cinematic, but different. It had a connection to Marillion, but it was it was different in style.
It's not just all the guitar solos strung together.
Yeah, from my point of view, it's just a chance occasionally, if I'm in the fortunate position that a musician who I personally rate or am excited about, if they come to me and say, do you fancy collaborating, then I will, and it's more often to do with the respect for that other musician than it is for feeling like I've got to get anything out of my system. So, when I ran into Richard Barbieri, I've always thought Richard was a genius since the 80s, long before I'd ever met him. So to have the opportunity to work with him was something I had to grab. So I got the Ice Cream. I guess when I made Ice Cream Genius, I was getting a lot of stuff out of my system. I was still getting the remnants of my punk phase out of my system. So I was then collaborating with Clem Burke from Blondie and Dave Gregory from XTC. So that was a chance to just go left field for a bit. But I think Marillion have gone left field since then anyway. So the short answer is really that this band's got such creative freedom these days. There's nothing to escape from, really. And
it's a productive time for the band, definitely. With the new orchestral-based studio album. We've still got the live DVD to enjoy, of course, and the tour. But I understand you are starting to work up ideas for what happens next. Can people expect a F.E.A.R Part 2?
I think the only thing we want to hit the same sort of creative peak that we felt that we hit with F.E.A.R. I think we've no idea in terms of content or direction or style or anything. We just know that we don't know how many albums we have left in us. It's important that every one we make from now on to the end of our career is as good as humanly possible. So whether that takes all of next year or all of next year or the year after, who knows? But hopefully just all of next year.
What I love about the band is you are seen as very much pioneers from when you started looking at working with fans around what they now call crowdfunding so you could be in control of your own destiny. Looking back at it, do you think it was just a fluke, or that you had a certain artistic vision that was unique to the band?
Personally, I think it was kind of dropped in our lap, so it was part fluke. But I think we were smart enough to see it for what it was. Once it landed there, instead of going, throwing it away, we went, hang on a minute.
Yeah, I think we understood the importance of our fan base. We'd had those 8 albums with EMI, and even at the end of our career with EMI, we were still selling very well, when we got dropped. But then we had 3 albums with independent labels, and we saw our fan base, our record sales kind of dwindling. So it was the time to take a risk, I think, to try and find a new way of doing things. But because with the Marillion.com album, we'd actually had this idea of people would send in a card and receive a bonus disc. So we managed to build up quite a reasonable database of our fans that we could then approach for the Anoraknophobia pre-order. the birth of crowdfunding.
Yeah, it was a point in time where things were really happening. You know,
Yeah.
suddenly email existed,
Yeah.
which transformed what it was possible to do. If you're someone who has a fan base, before email, you could never have spoken to them. You'd have had to put 10,000 letters in 10,000 envelopes and stick 10,000 stamps on them. It would have cost you a fortune and take you all year. With email, you go, and it's done in a second. And I can't say what a colossal change that is in what was possible. To we've all we take it for granted now. You get used to everything so quickly. But there was a time before email and a time after email. And if you're someone who wants to talk to 10, 20, 30,000 people, that was an amazing moment in time. And it all just happened at a point where we'd got a guy from America who we'd run into who knew how to make websites, although I didn't know what a website was.
Many people at that point.
He was running into our studio going, why don't we register some domain names? And we were all going, what's a domain name? And he's going, well, nobody's got bbc.com, nobody's got ici.com, no one's got boots.com, no one's got this.com. And we're going, really? Saying, yeah. I'm thinking, what on earth is he on about? And we said, well, how much is it? And he said, well, it's only 50 quid to register each one. We went, 50 quid? You've got to be mad. Fuck off out. And we never did it. We could have all been millionaires, but we were too busy making music. That's not really what we're about. But it was like the Wild West. All this stuff was coming out of the box.
Yeah, so speaking of the love of the anorak, because arachnophobia means not fearing the anorak, right?
Exactly.
But what I love, the irony there is it's also 40 years anniversary of Quadrophenia, the other anorak or Parker-loving film, at the same time. Opposite ends of the musical spectrum, but I kind of love the synchronicity.
Right.
I was with Toya the other week. I'll just name drop now. I was with Toya the other week.
When we all do.
She said the son had called it quadriplegics. Because they're all about how many years? 50 years since Quadrophenia or something crazy.
Since the film came out, it's I think it's 40 years.
40 years.
But then, of course, the album was a good deal before then.
Yeah.
So for anyone, whether you're a Parker-loving person, an anorak-loving person, or just a prog or Marillion-loving person, it's great to speak to you guys.
Cheers.
To remind everyone, a load of stuff happening. You've got tour starting on the 1st of November, 13 dates, ending up with 2 dates at the Royal Albert Hall, 18th and 19th from recollection. And you have your Marillion with friends from the Orchestra, which is I think it's a 9-track CD recorded in the studio at Real World Studios.
Yeah.
Recommend that. And
with the same musicians that will be on tour with us.
And we can expect, so people should check that out in anticipation of the tour. And there's a preview track already available online.
Yes.
Estonia. So great again talking to you guys, and we'll see you on the road. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you very much.